Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Nancy Reyes with For Your Canine. No matter where you are on your nose work journey, whether you're a beginner or an elite, staying at source or staying at odor is really important, especially as you move up in levels with more complex searches and solve more difficult problems. An effective reinforcement protocol will help develop and maintain a good stain at source skill throughout your nose work career. So this video is intended to help you with that and talk a little bit about reinforcement and how that affects us in nose work and how we can make it better to give us a better staying at source or order obedience. So reinforcement is a process of encouraging or establishing a pattern of behavior by reward system, right? And the reward could be anything, but we want to reinforce, strengthen that skill of staying at source and making that very clear and to the dog, and really help them understand that that's what you want. And I think we fail on that sometimes. We don't make it clear that this is what we want. So how and when we deliver the reinforcement affects how strong the response is going to be, right? So you want it to be accurate. You want the duration to be longer, a little bit, and frequent. So you want to have the behavior so when there is no treats present, if the dog smells odor, it should still want to stay there, right? And persist on it. Even though we're very fortunate in nose work that we're able to reinforce all the time throughout it. But if we are delayed or we slow down a little, if we do it right in the beginning, we should probably have a very strong behavior going forward. So then what is effective reinforcement? The shorter the time between the behavior, staying at source, and the reinforcement, treats, toys, praise, makes the connection stronger between the two, between odor and the treat. So that's why early on in nose work, we really try to get in there to pay and pay quickly so that the dog makes that great association. What happens over time, we don't tend to be as mindful about paying at source, right? So what happens is the connection between the odor and the food weakens, and like not having a treat ready, and the dog might walk away or just maybe think it's wrong and leave. And the other thing is the longer the time it takes, you might be reinforcing something else. For example, if you take too long to get the treat to the dog, some dogs come off of odor and come to you. So you might inadvertently reinforce that. So the dog thinks the behavior is go to source and come back for a cookie. And sometimes that can kind of backfire a little bit in that we won't sometimes see if the dog's at order or where it's at. So if we get a lot of aware, we won't be able to answer. So a little bit, keeping the dog at odor a teeny bit longer will help with that. So an appropriate reinforcement protocol will help odor obedience, staying at source, and discourage them walking past odor or leaving it. They'll hit it and move on. So you don't want that. So what you want to really think about is what constitutes reinforcement for your particular dog. And you have to it's very dog specific, especially for those of us who have multiple dogs. What one dog might find reinforcing, the other may not. So this is part of the start of the journey of thinking about reinforcement and really having a plan when it comes to that and how to handle that. So what is a reward? A reward is something that your dog finds very, very reinforcing or desirable. They like it, like treats, like toys. Some dogs like praise. So you want to really start being a detective, right? And learning what your dog really finds motivating. And sometimes that might require you to think outside the box a little bit. So what does your dog find reinforcing? Dog treats, yay. Tennis balls, tug. Some dogs like fries. We've had dogs that like watermelon, carrots, cauliflower. The things are endless. So you want to start really thinking about what does your dog really find reinforcing, right? And so and once you know what your dog really finds reinforcing, you can use it to your advantage to really have a nice staying at source or an odor obedience with your dog. So variety is the spice of life, right? We tend to be creatures of habit and always have the same treats all the time. The dog really likes them. We get into that routine and we just always give the same treats. So it's important to really experiment to see what your dog likes. So you would try different things one at a time. Don't try a whole bunch of stuff at once because then you might not get a clear picture of what your dog really likes. For example, if you're starting, I'm going to try nuggets, I'm going to try hot dogs, I'm going to try cheese, the dog might be really excited about all of those. And you might not be able to really get a good tell, like, oh, this is better than this. And you want to do a process of elimination, right? For example, if you do Kentucky Fried Chicken with cheese, see which one your dog picks, right? And then you might want to do Kentucky Fried Chicken with hot dogs and see which one your dog picks. Or you want to do Kentucky Fried Chicken and milk bone. So that's what I'm talking about. Use one and then try to figure out the other one and be able to do that. So you want to be clear on what your dog finds motivating. So how do you start the process of experimenting? If you're unsure if your dog is treat or toy motivated, away from odor, present a toy, present a treat, and see what your dog chooses. And you might try different treats, right? With your toy. So you might have, you might try Kentucky Fried Chicken and a toy. You might try a hot dog and a toy. You might try all those different things before you start to, before you see if your dog is really toy motivated or treat motivated. Because sometimes your dog might choose a toy over a certain treat, but if you present another treat, it's not going to find it, as motivating, and it won't leave it. So one of the things you want to do once you've determined your dog is treat motivated, you want to start comparing and offering and repeat with different treats. And then you want to start developing a list of the favorite treats. Maybe have like 5 treats that your dog really likes. And then you can start varying your treats during training and trialing so that your dog gets used to having a different treat all the time and they never know which one they're gonna get. Kind of make the dog a little bit of a gambler, right? So as you've done some of your experimentation, you might find that your dog enjoys treats and toys equally. So you may consider using both. And we're going to give you a little demo on how to do that. So use treats at the hides and then use a toy when the search is complete is one way to do it. Sometimes if you use only toys, it takes a lot of time. And since nosework is a timed event, it might increase your search time. So a lot of people, if the dog especially likes treats and toys, they reinforce with treats, but then use a toy at the end of their search. So I'm going to show you a video. I don't use toys with this particular dog you'll see in the video, but you always want to vary it and kind of keep the dog guessing which one they're going to get. So I use a variety of treats in mine, but this is one example that I'm going to show you where you can use a toy. There's 3 hides here in this particular area, and I could have, if I have a dog that enjoys treats and toys, you would pay with the treats and at the end reinforce with a toy. So this is just a demo of how you can probably use the treats and toy combination, even though in this case I'm not doing it, but I wanted to show you kind of how that would work, right? She found one, she's going to find the other one, and then I could have used a toy here at the end of that and reinforced her for that. So this is just an example of how you would probably be able to incorporate the toy into your training. Okay, and using toys in training. So whether you use them at trial or not, you can use them for training if your dog finds them reinforcing. So you don't always have to use treats, or always use what reinforces a dog, and always changing that reinforces is really important. So in this demo, I'm going to show how we've incorporated a toy. This dog likes treats as well, but he also enjoys toys. So we have incorporated that into his training, and he's a young dog, and we're trying to get him to stay at source a little bit better. And we're using a toy in order to be able to keep that going for this dog, right? And we're trying to do it before he really enjoys it, and it's fun and it's different, right? Always changing it up and making it different for the dog is really super important because it keeps the motivation up, right? Like, for example, in our case, if we would get $10 sometimes for a task, or $20, and sometimes we get $100, the motivation stays pretty high working on those kind of things. The other thing you can use and you want to think about is using play in your training. It's harder to use it at trial, but in your training, it's really it's possible, right? You can use some tugging and really enjoy your time with your dog, and it just adds to the experience. So in this case, um, the dog found the hide, and there was a nice light game of tug. You don't have to be too over the top, just nice, mild play. And it really adds to the dog's reinforcement history with odor. So think about different things you can use to increase that dog's motivation and the desire to stay at source, because they never know what they're going to get. They can get toys, treats, and if they enjoy all of those things, why not use them all? Don't get into that rut of just using the same old stuff all the time. So have your list, you change that reinforcement. I would do this exercise with the different treats and toys and all that, experiment every 6 months, because they might grow tired of a certain treat over time, or they might decide that that particular toy isn't what I want. So you want to really try every 6 months. Do it. Just go and get some different treats, try different things, see if the list stays the same, and update it every 6 months. It'll maintain your dog's really desire to stay at source, and it will give you a little bit of an edge there, because your dog will be very motivated, and you'll continue to keep that drive and motivation up for your dog. I hope this was helpful. Happy treating.